In this video, I'm going to show you 20 things that will help to give you the best possible start in Skyrim. I'll include how to get the best early game weapons and armor, a whole bunch of quality of life stuff, and some in-game features that you definitely don't want to miss, so stay until the end for that. The first tip is as simple as they come, but it's easy to miss if you don't immediately follow the main quest path that the game sets out for you. To avoid making this mistake, as soon as you leave the tutorial at Helgen, follow the main road towards Riverwood until you come across the Guardian Stones, as shown in the video right now. These are the first of 13 standing stones that you'll come across during your adventures in Skyrim. Specifically, they're the Warrior, Mage and Thief stones, and they'll offer you a 20% experience boost to either your Warrior, Mage or Thief based skills, depending on which stone you choose. Why is this important? Well, getting this buff right away means that you'll level up faster using your primary skills, which in turn means that you'll unlock perk points faster, and perk points are essentially what will make your build both effective and fun. So don't miss out on the opportunity to unlock cool features such as zooming in and using slow motion with bows as early as possible by grabbing one of these early game experience boosts. Another thing that can make your experience smoother in the early game is to grab a follower as soon as possible. An extremely easy and reasonably effective companion to pick up at the very beginning of the game is Faendal in Riverwood. He's an archer who will just typically stand at the back taking out enemies at range, and as a result he doesn't get in the way too much. To recruit Faendal as a follower, you simply need to help him with a small quest to deliver a love letter, after which he'll offer to accompany you on your adventures. Having a follower early on provides extra damage, a meat shield if you get into trouble, and perhaps most importantly of all, a portable pack mule for loot, due to the fact that you can trade items to your followers and they tend to have a pretty large carry capacity. Honestly, I cannot overstate the benefits of this when it comes to helping you loot more items to make gold in the early game. Speaking of carry capacity, even with a follower, you're soon enough going to end up with too many items to carry, and that's why tip number 3 is to get yourself a player house as soon as possible. And if you're clever, you can sort of get one without having to pay for it. A great example of this is Anice's cabin. While not technically yours, you can bump off poor Anice early on and then use her cabin to safely store your items. She even has alchemy and enchanting stations in her basement as well, so it's a pretty nice setup when you're just starting a new playthrough. Word of warning on this storage method though, it's only going to work in very specific locations in the game. You can't just use any random storage to safely stow away your items, as there's a chance they'll be permanently deleted. So always Google safe storage options before you use them. Another free option is to join the College of Winterhold in order to get access to your own bed and safe storage locker, and it's going to be something you want to do anyway, especially if you're going to go for a Magicka based build. And of course, there is the more conventional way to get a player house, which is simply buying one. And the cheapest player home is Breeze Home in Whiterun, which becomes available for the price of 5,000 gold after you complete the Dragon Rising quest. If you're interested, I have a video that will show you how to get every single player house in the game, and I'll stick it in the description down below. The nice thing about actually owning a player house is that you'll also gain access to a number of additional benefits, including crafting stations, options for marriage and adoption, and a bunch of free items that come with each house. Speaking of marriage, this actually offers yet another way to get a free house, as if your spouse owns a home, it will automatically become yours when you marry them. And on top of that, there are a number of other benefits to marriage, such as the ability for your spouse to make you some passive gold, provide you with food that boosts your health, stamina and magicka regeneration, and the lover's comfort buff that allows you to level your skills 15% faster. As with player housing, I have a guide that will show you step by step how to get married in Skyrim, and I'll pop it in the description down below. So now you've established a happy home life, let's look at how to actually power up your character. Firstly, I'd advise unlocking Dragon Shouts early on, as they're both powerful abilities and a core part of the Skyrim experience and theme. You can unlock Dragon Shouts by progressing the main quest to the point that you defeat the first dragon at the Western Watchtower, and this will unlock the Unrelenting Force Shout as well as your ability to learn further shouts. Though be warned, this will also trigger dragons to start randomly spawning in the open world. But without dragons, you cannot gain dragon souls, and therefore you'll be unable to unlock further shouts, so they're kind of necessary. You can't just go around shouting at enemies, however, you are of course going to need something heavy and metallic to bonk them on the head with. So I'd recommend getting a strong early game melee weapon, and the one that I would go for is the Mace of Molag Bal. To get access to this weapon, you'll need to take a trip to Markarth. Don't worry, I'll show you the best way to travel there later in the video. And then look for a vigilant named Tyrannus, who'll give you a quest called the House of Horrors. Follow this quest to completion and you'll receive the Mace of Molag Bal as a reward. The mace deals heavy base damage, drains the stamina and magicka of your enemies, weakening their attacks and spellcasting, and even soul traps the target, so you can fill soul gems for enchanting. As a one-handed weapon, you can also pair it with a shield or spell as well, making it a nice, diverse item to get your hands on. But what if you want to play a range build? Well, I've got a great tip for that too. But first, I want to talk to you about my range of bonus content available to both Patreons and YouTube members. You can access a whole bunch of additional guides and other RPG-focused content, as well as private Discord channel access, and a number of other benefits. You can find links to become a Patreon or a YouTube member if Patreon just isn't your thing in the description down below. Anyway, let's talk about that ranged weapon. Well, it's not actually a real ranged weapon, it's an ethereal one. This is the Bound Bow, which is a bow that can be conjured using the Conjuration School of Magic. It's a decently powerful bow in the early game, and it also basically has infinite ammo, which is a nice little bonus because it's going to stop you having to buy or scavenge for arrows in the early game. To get the Bound Bow spell, you simply need to head to Fort Amol to the east of Whiterun, enter the fort and then loot the spell tome within the prison area. Then you just need to use the spell tome to learn the spell and say goodbye to pesky bows made from silly wood and string. Honestly, this is a bit of a game changer for archery in the early game, so it's worth that little bit of extra effort. But what if neither melee or ranged weapons are your thing and you want to go for a magic build? Well, in that case, I'd recommend that you travel to Winterhold and join the College of Winterhold right away. It's really simple to join, you basically just have to rock up and speak to the person who's guarding the bridge. And I even have a step-by-step guide on how to join if you're interested, and I'll stick it in the description with the others. Once you're a member, you can enjoy the benefits of free magicka-based equipment, access to a wide range of spell tomes for purchase, and skill trainers for every school of magic. It's basically a no-brainer if you're going for a magic-based build. Speaking of guilds, if you're going for a thief type build, I would highly recommend joining either the Thieves Guild or the Dark Brotherhood early on, or maybe even both. The reason is because both of these guilds provide you with access to some really strong early game gear, with the Thieves Guild equipment gravitating towards stealth and stealing, and the Dark Brotherhood's more towards, well, murdering people. The Thieves Guild will also give you access to a fence that's going to allow you to sell stolen goods without being arrested, and both organisations will give you access to various skill trainers, as well as some of the best quests and indeed quest rewards in the entire game. Oh, and if you want a step-by-step guide on how to join either of these guilds, then the video I linked below for joining the College of Winterhold also includes how to join both the Thieves Guild and the Dark Brotherhood. Another powerful boost you can give your character early on comes from completing the Book of Love quest. This one's a bit of a hidden gem, as once you complete the quest you'll be given a permanent plus 15% resistance to magical damage, which is a huge benefit when engaging enemy mages and can be particularly useful if you want to play the game on higher difficulty settings. The great thing is you don't even need to engage in any combat to complete the quest, it's basically just travelling around and talking to various NPCs, which makes it a really easy one to complete at low level. To get started, head to the Temple of Mara in Riften and speak to Dinya Balu and simply follow the quest line from there. Another thing that offers a massive boost to your character's strength in Skyrim is crafting, so let's talk about that next. Firstly, don't underestimate the power of potions in Skyrim. Alchemy is a great skill to get to grips with early on because it not only saves your life with health, stamina and magicka potions, but it also allows you to enhance your skills in many other ways and serves as a pretty good moneymaker. Getting started with alchemy is incredibly simple. As you explore the game world, just pick up every single ingredient you see. Flowers, wheat, butterflies, mushrooms, giant toes, basically anything that's labelled as an ingredient. Then when you rock up at an alchemy lab, such as the one in Dragon's Reach Keep in Whiterun, you'll have plenty of ingredients available to start mixing ingredients and discovering useful potions. On a basic level, it really is as simple as that. How to actually use alchemy in detail, however, is of course a far more in-depth subject, but don't worry, I've got you covered for that as well, and I'll link my detailed alchemy guide in the description down below for those who want to explore further. Of course, alchemy isn't the only crafting skill in town, and smithing can also offer a huge boost to your character in the early game. As with alchemy, smithing is accessible from the very beginning of the game as soon as you leave the tutorial. You simply need to gather materials by mining ores and collecting animal pelts, or you could just buy or steal them. Bonus tip by the way, stolen materials will no longer count as stolen if you use them to craft something. Anyway, once you've got your materials, you simply need to take them to a forge, the first of which you'll find in Riverwood near the entrance to the town, and then start using them to create weapons and armor. Early on, there's a pretty high likelihood that you're going to be able to craft better armor and weapons than anything you've found so far, and as you level your smithing skill, you'll actually be able to craft some of the most powerful items available in the game. And no surprises here, I have an in-depth smithing guide that I'll link in the description down below. Now, in order to really take your crafted weapons and armor to the next level, you're going to want to throw enchanting into the mix as well. By getting started with enchanting early in the game, you're going to have a whole range of powerful effects to add to the weapons, armor, and even jewelry that you're able to craft. And this can have a huge impact on the amount of damage you're able to both deal out and receive. Enchanting is slightly more complex than the other two crafting skills, as you're going to need to collect charged soul stones and learn magical effects in order to be able to enchant your items. But guess what? Yeah, check the description of this video to learn how to do all of that step by step. Honestly, enchanting offers a huge boost to your character, so it's not one that you're going to want to sleep on. I teased earlier in this video that crafting skills can also be very lucrative, so let me give you an example of how you can make massive amounts of gold early in the game by combining smithing and enchanting. The first thing you're going to need is the transmute spell, which can be found at Halted Stream Camp at this location on the map. You're going to need to enter the cave, clear out the bandits, and then head over to this table to loot the transmute spell tome. I'd also advise grabbing a pickaxe from this location if you don't already have one, as it's going to allow you to mine the ore that you're going to be using for transmuting, as well as the gems that you're going to need for the next step. Once you've done all this, you're going to need to use the tome to learn the transmute spell, and then start using that spell to convert iron ore into silver ore, and the resulting silver ore into gold ore. Following this, you'll need to access a smithing station, such as the one at Riverwood that I mentioned previously, and craft that transmuted gold into expensive jewelry that you can sell for a tasty profit. It's really lucrative, and it really doesn't require that much setup. I go through this process step by step in another video, as well as offering several other methods to make gold early in the game. You know where to find it by now. Let's move on to some tips around exploration and how to get the best out of Skyrim's open world during the early hours of your playthrough. The first tip is simply to explore, as in don't wait until later in the game to start doing this. That's really not how Skyrim is designed to be played, and I truly believe that you'll get a far better experience if you just let your curiosity get the better of you. You're not railroaded down a certain path in Skyrim. The main quest will always be there to come back to, and frankly, it's not even the best part of the game. So wander towards an ancient ruin that's taken your interest, delve into a random cave, or speak to an NPC who has a favour to ask you. These encounters can lead to some of the most interesting storylines and indeed some of the best rewards available in the game. And of course, exploring will net you more loot, experience, and just a better overall understanding of the world and its lore. Just remember that early on, a bit of caution goes a long way. Basically, save your game often, especially if you're exploring the open world where you can't really rely on autosaves. You don't want to make a load of progress only to be yeeted into oblivion by a giant and lose everything because you forgot to save the game. When it comes to traversing the open world, I would generally advise not to overuse fast travel, as it can be quite immersion breaking and results in you missing out on many of the game's random encounters. However, Skyrim is pretty vast, and sometimes quest objectives do send you obscene distances to carry out pretty mundane tasks. You can cut this travel time down significantly by utilising the carriage network that many players seem to miss. Basically, outside of every major city gate, you'll find a carriage driver who will transport you to any other city for a small fee, even if you haven't discovered it. Then, of course, once you arrive, you do discover that city and you unlock the ability to fast travel there in the future. So early on, it makes a lot of sense to take a few carriage rides just so you're not constantly running huge distances back and forth across the map. It's also worth getting your hands on a horse as early in the game as possible. As well as allowing you to travel a little faster, horses are also pretty useful for getting away quickly if you stray into a fight that you're not ready to handle yet, allowing you to fast travel even when you're over encumbered, and surprisingly for climbing mountains. I have no idea why, but horses basically climb like mountain goats, and they're pretty useful when you're struggling to get over a mountain on foot. There are a number of ways to obtain a horse in the game, but the most basic and obvious method is to simply buy one from the Whiterun stables, which shouldn't be an issue for you if you followed my previous tips on gold making. There are also a number of slightly more convoluted methods to get one for free if you're willing to go and do a little bit of extra research. Now, my last 3 tips are in relation to things that you could quite easily miss, simply because you might not know that they even exist as options, and then you might wish that you'd started them earlier. Firstly, in Skyrim you actually have the option to play as a werewolf, which gives you access to a whole new skill tree, as well as a range of other benefits such as enhanced combat abilities and the ability to drop onto all fours and outrun a horse. To become a werewolf, you simply need to follow the Companion's questline, which you can start in Whiterun with no requirements. And it almost goes without saying at this point that I have a very in-depth werewolf guide for those interested in finding out more. Similarly, you can also become a vampire, or even a powerful vampire lord if you have the Dawnguard DLC. Though, admittedly, becoming a vampire lord will take a little longer and isn't something you can easily do as soon as you start the game. Much like being a werewolf, being a vampire will also offer you a range of new abilities and advantages, though do be warned that vampirism actually comes with quite a few disadvantages as well. And you know where I'm going to send you to learn every imaginable detail about vampirism? Yep, I'll link the detailed guide in the description down below. Speaking of vampires, did you know that you don't actually have to wait until level 10 to start the Dawnguard DLC and get access to cool features such as crossbows and having Serana as your follower? Well, you don't. You can simply head to Fort Dawnguard via Dayspring Canyon and speak to Isran to kick off the questline. Obviously, I have a step-by-step guide on how to do this, and it can be a really nice thing to do in the early game, as while you might struggle to progress the questline on anything but the easiest difficulty, you will be able to get far enough to unlock crossbows, which are pretty strong at level 1 as they do decent early game damage relative to other early ranged weapons such as the hunting bow, and they also ignore 50% of armor. And you'll be able to unlock Serana, who's one of the more powerful followers and can't be permanently killed like Lydia, for example. Now that should put you in a pretty damn strong position to start your adventures in Skyrim. But there's still plenty more to learn, and I have tons more Skyrim guide content on my channel, as I already mentioned many times, and I have even more to offer through Patreon and YouTube membership as well. So check that out by following the links in the description down below, and as always, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.